Hello, beautiful, beloved brethren. In the Old Testament, God says that in Isaiah 14 and throughout the scriptures, God says that the fast that He wants is to loose the yoke, the putting on of the yoke, the heavy burdens that they put upon God's people. To do all these things, and they refuse to do it. They refuse to let God's people go. Jesus said that they do not open the prison doors, that they continue to do wickedness. There's many ways that they are lawless, and by offering up fruit that's bruised, beaten, unhealthy. Jesus said He's the great physician. God is the great physician, and I had an experience where I was bringing these people into my house, and they had bruises and stuff, and I was healing them with the gospel. And this is, what we're supposed to do. I think that was in Isaiah 57 or 58, I believe, is the fast that God chooses. And so they have put heavy burdens on God's people, heavy burdens, and they have, they've offered up, the unrighteous, the unjust, rather than the just and the righteous. And it says they didn't, the law of God in the Torah, which is the Tanakh, or the first 5 books of our Bible, but also the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament. The law and the Old Testament prophets, confirmed that they were breaking the law, and the harlot. We're talking about the harlot. There are, we have brothers and sisters who are Christian, Jews, and Gentile, both. So this is not about all of them. The ones that are saved are the remnant. The ones that are rebelling, they are in bondage with the Egyptian bondwoman, Ishmael, which is with the Egyptian bondwoman's child, Ishmael, under lawlessness and sin and wickedness. And this is Islam, is Palestine, and Rome, Vatican, worships that same god of Dagon, the dragon. The mitre hat is a proof. And they also wear beanie hats, and they are connected to the Jesuits are connected to and the Freemasons are connected to the proclaiming Jews. And they say that they're doing evil, that good will come. But God said that you cannot bring him down. You cannot raise him up. He says that he will not come until they say, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." This is the Messiah. So they continue doing wickedness to try to make him come, but he's not going to come until they say that. And it's going to continue to get uglier and uglier, because he's saying right now, "Let my people go." So they're sinning by not shining the light to the nations. Instead, they're darkness. And they're covering the lamps. In Acts 13, he says, "How long will you turn my glory into darkness? How long will you cover my lamps?" It says in the Psalms of David. So Jesus said not to cover the lamps, okay? But that's what they are doing. The wicked cover the lamps of God, the lights of God. They don't allow the land to rest. They don't let the prisoners free, which these are laws that God had commanded Israel that they're to do. They don't forgive debts, which they're supposed to forgive debts every 7 years, rest the land, let the captives go free. But what they do with debts is they just give new companies or they transfer the debt to a new middleman, okay, so to a third-party company to collect the debt. So they're still holding them captive. They haven't really released them. It's a very big trick of the devil. So the third parties carry the debt, and then they say, "Oh, we've let them free." But they really haven't. It's a deception. They're not truly releasing the debts when they do that. So people don't get set free. And then they don't return the children to their fathers. So God says that they close the doors of heaven and they don't go in themselves. And they prevent people that are entering in. They prevent them. So this is a wickedness. This is the basket of bad fruit that God says that he doesn't like, he doesn't enjoy, he has no pleasure in it. What Jesus and what the prophets talked about is this is the refreshing. This is the Sabbath. Jesus is our Sabbath rest. He says, "Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy. My burden is light." So his yoke is easy. We put on his yoke, and then he says, "Learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart." Okay, so when we see these violent people that are attacking God's people because they're talking truth, which is what happens with when after 420 years of God's people being enslaved, God turns and judges those nations. And they're from every nation, tribe, and tongue that are afflicting God's people. In that video I put in the community page, you see every nation, tribe, and tongue in that dyed garments of blue. Tarshish, their ships and their dyed blue garments came over, are forcibly, violently attacking God's people. And so just like Egypt enslaved God's people, in our time, God is saying, let my people go. And just like Pharaoh, they don't want to let the people go. They want to keep enslaving them. So not by power, not by man's words, not by strength or physical strength, not by intellectual ideas of the carnal, corruptible man, but by God's Spirit, saith the Lord, he will release his people. God is coming in power. He will put down all rule and authority and thrones and dominions, it says in the scriptures. And he says, anyone who would not have me to reign over them, bring them before me and slay them. The scriptures are very clear that the wicked, they are doing wickedly and they just don't ever stop. God has to deliver his people. We have to trust in God. And so the enslaved, and 420 years after that was March 2020. Rome they're the slaves that ended up on the horses and the native Indians off the horses, but the native Indians are being returned to their horses, their rightful place, and out of the sheds and barns and prisons that they had them in their mind, and their minds are free, so they need to try to corrupt them again, but God's not going to allow it for very much longer. He's about to put them down, and their pyramid scheme, which is what it is. Egypt has a pyramid scheme. Anyway,